On a recent episode of Ham Radio Dude, I showed you how you could build a 100 watt portable K6ARK end-fed half-wave. And the only problem is Adam never advertised it's actually a 100 watt end-fed half-wave. In fact, as I've mentioned, it's not actually a product yet. Today we're going to discuss further testing, a couple of little hacks, and talk about the availability, when it's going to come out, if it's going to come out. That and much more on Ham Radio Dude. On the screen now, you're going to see two PCBs, both designed by Adam himself. The one on the left, we're going to call version 1, and the one on the right, we'll call version 2. In the first video I did regarding this end-fed half-wave, I built everything off of version 1. Now, the thing about version 1 is everything worked, but Adam noticed a few changes that needed to be made to kind of perfect things. If you don't notice the difference between version 1 and version 2, I'll start off by letting you know, in typical K6ARK fashion, that Adam made the PCB smaller. Additionally, Adam increased the size of the solder holes, which allows us to get more solder inside that solder joint. And we could probably even increase our magnet wire size just a little bit, up to about 16 gauge, although Adam recommends no bigger than 18 gauge. And you might actually recall in my last video, I did have a problem with a solder joint that I thought was my bad soldering. It could have been. However, this new version in this new build, I had absolutely zero problems getting everything on the board and soldered into place, and everything stuck into place pretty well. So it could have been a design flaw, and that's the cool thing. Adam is always looking to make sure that everything is done to the best of his abilities. One major change that was made is Adam also added a notch into the portion of the PCB where the SO239 goes, which adds stability for the SO239 and doesn't allow the SO239 to continue to twist inside of the actual board. With the build complete, I think that the best thing for me to do was to go meet up with WQ9F and KD9RUG and test this thing until we can make it overheat. If we can make it overheat, and then kind of get a better observation about what this antenna is going to be capable of doing. However, why would anybody want an end-fed half-wave antenna? There are a lot of people who like to go do portable work, operating outdoors, and sometimes an easy solution for them is just to throw up a wire, especially if they're only going to be there for an hour or two. Additionally, there are people who are stuck in scenarios where they might not be able to put up a large antenna or a huge tower, and maybe an end-fed half-wave is the easiest thing for them or the most concealable thing for them. Whatever your reasoning for wanting an end-fed half-wave, just know that it will work the world. And so I took my happy little self over to Volo Boggs State Park in northern Illinois, and I met with WQ9F, who was activating the park on sideband. Now I told Kevin to go ahead and try any bands that he wanted in order to see if we could push 100 watts through this consistently for a long period of time.
Roger that, 5-9 plus. You're 10 over here into southwest Missouri. You have yourself a great day. You're the loudest one on the whole band today. 7-3?
Yeah, copy that. You're the loudest one I'm hearing today so far. I'll take the 5.9 plus. We're running 100 watts into an end-fed half-wave, and it's working pretty good. Thanks for hunting today, and have a great day. 73.
Have fun. WQ9F, K0WC. Bye-bye.
73.
And what we found was 20 meters just seemed fine. After about 45 minutes to an hour, 20 meters, even though the core was a little bit warm, it never fluctuated in standing wave ratio. And then we switched over to 40 meters. And the standing wave ratio never changed either, except that core got really warm. And I do feel like that after a while, it probably would have reached its Curry point where you start to see the fluctuation in standing wave ratio. So I would say that even though we were pushing 100 watts through it, if you're going to be pushing 100 watts for a long period of time, even on voice, maybe you want to cut the power down to around 75 or 70 watts. But hey, I'm not your mother. While conducting these tests, I was using a sloper configuration approximately 17 feet off the ground at the highest point of the antenna, and the feed point was approximately 3 feet off the ground during my test with Kevin. And when I went out to do FT8, my feed point was approximately 4.5 feet off the ground. Now, the temperature was about the same on both days, where it was around 90 degrees with 85% humidity. And on both days of testing, I checked the standing wave ratio, which on 40 meters, 20 meters, 15 meters, and 10, the standing wave ratio was definitely below 2 to 1, and in most cases, it was below 1.5 to 1. Things are looking good, so I went out to the farm and I tested FT8 as long as I could, and this is where I get the results for a more continual mode like FT8. And again, I was using a 2 primary turn to 14 secondary turn ratio on my end-fed half-wave. If you use a 3 to 21 turn ratio, you might see different results. There is an article by HB9EAJ Stefan or Steven, and it's a very detailed article. I'm going to link it below in case you're curious about end-fed half-waves and you want to know much more. Regardless, I did continue to test FT8 on the end-fed half-wave, and my results were interesting. I started at 50 watts of power, and at 50 watts of power, after 30 minutes, I reached the curry point of the core. So I went ahead and I brought the end-fed half-wave over to 40 meters, and I brought the power down to 40 watts, and about 25 minutes, I reached the core saturation point, or the curry point again. I then went ahead and I reduced the power level to about 35 watts, and I didn't seem to have any issues. I would say that the maximum output power on a more continual mode like FT8 is probably going to be about 35 to 30 watts. But we can fix this. If you do want more power for whatever reason, you should be able just to add a second toroid, a T140-43, stacking it onto the original T140-43 and putting the magnet wire through both of the toroids or ferrites should allow you to almost double your power. And one of the reasons I enjoy building kits or my own antennas in general is because of the opportunity to modify and learn. And that's the true spirit of amateur radio as well as tinkerers in general. With Adam's K6ARK end-fed halfway, I realized that I could take a wire winder with a case and I could drill an SO239 hole in it, which allows me to have 2 different options. I could carry the K6ARK antenna by itself, or I can carry it on a wire winder. Once Adam finishes his final design for this end-fed half-wave, I will make sure that everything will fit in this case, and I'll post a link on Thingiverse in case you have a 3D printer. You'll be able to print the case yourself. Which reminds me, is this actually going to be a kit or a bill of material? We talked about that at the last episode and we weren't sure. I spoke to Adam and Adam said that he's probably going to do both, put out a kit and a bill of material, which I think will be excellent because it gives anybody the opportunity to do things the way they want, whether it's a kit or they're looking to do their own interesting little build. And a lot of people in the last episode asked, well, where can we find the K6ARK end-fed half-wave that we're talking about today? And the answer is going to be when it's available, you could check out K6ARK.com, check out his Amazon page, which I'll link below, and check out YouTube. Adam occasionally posts videos on YouTube. I had a really good time making this video, and to recap it, we talked about the K6ARK version 2, as I call it, end-fed half-wave antenna. We talked about a little bit more testing that was done, and a couple of little mods or hacks that we did. The build was super easy, and I hope when it comes out, you enjoy it as well. I'm Ham Radio Dude. Until next time, 73. Kevin, K6ARK, 100 watt end-fed half-wave, final thoughts?
Yeah, worked great.
Worked great?
We ran 100 watts for an hour, and SWR on 20 and 40 never went above 1.5 to 1, so can't ask much.
It works for me. All right, man. Subscribe to Kevin's channel.
WQ9F Ham Radio. Come and find me on YouTube.
Awesome. I'll link it below. Thanks a lot, Kevin.